tend to conduct our road tests on new models very shortly after launch because that's probably when they're at their most newsworthy. But sometimes it's good to revisit the same cars 2 or 3 years down the model cycle, mainly because all the niggles will have been sorted out, and in fact there probably will have been some running changes as well. The Alfa Romeo Giulietta Quadrifoglio Verde is a good case in point. When we first tested that car in 2011, it produced 173 kilowatts of maximum power and had a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now, 4 years later, that engine output has gone up to 177 kilowatt, and the gearbox is a dual-clutch TCT. Purists may not be pleased about the switch from manual to dual-clutch transmission, but there's no doubt that it's the more efficient option, and if implemented correctly, can contribute a racy feel to the driving experience. And let's face it, Alfas have always been about emotive motoring, and especially its performance models. The Giulietta QV bears that history with pride, and while it often is overlooked in the hot hatch segment, it certainly has more soul and heritage than many of its rivals. The same goes for the hatchback's aesthetics. The Italians know a thing or two about styling, and the Alfa Giulietta is a good case in point. Unlike the smaller pug-nosed Mito, this car looks sleek and aggressive with its typical V-shaped nose, adding character and style. New on this model, these daytime running lights. That's a really minor change, but one could argue that the Giulietta has stood the test of time well, and that the overall design doesn't need any tweaking. While other brands have to work hard to emphasize the identity of their cars, the Giulietta could never be confused with anything else, and besides, it emphatically expresses the car's dynamic character. By comparison, a lot has changed inside the cabin. The cabin execution of this latest Giulietta is certainly a lot smarter than I remember. The seats are all new, and I like the combination of leather and Alcantara. The layout, very much classic Alfa, but this Uconnect infotainment system is brand new as well. Uconnect is now common to most Alfa, Fiat and Chrysler models and centralizes the car's key infotainment features around a color display. Bluetooth and USB connectivity are standard, and the ergonomic theme continues with the large analog dials and a multifunction steering wheel. Alfisti will recognize the DNA control, which allows the selection of 3 different modes, but in this car, dynamic mode should be the default. As already mentioned, this latest version of the Giulietta Green Cloverleaf has an uprated engine. The capacity is still 1750cc in true classic Alfa style. Of course, turbocharged, but power up to 177 kilowatt, linked to 340 newton meters of torque. Also new is that dual clutch gearbox, drive still to the front wheels only. The Giulietta's underpinnings are a further reflection of its performance pedigree. Up front, the classic McPherson strut layout is augmented by aluminium knuckles and a hollow anti-roll bar, while the multi-link rear features a subframe, aluminium wishbones and an anti-roll bar. The wheels are 18-inch alloys shot with 225/40 performance rubber. The Giulietta is a brisk performer, as you'd expect of a car delivering 177 kilowatts of maximum power, and the engine certainly feels punchy despite a little bit of a low-down turbo lag. Really like this gearbox, not the snappiest, but certainly refined and quick enough. Handling good, nice and solid, the car always composed, and that despite a fairly slow steering system and a very lazy turning circle. The straight-line performance figures underscore the eagerness of the Alfa's dynamics. At 6 seconds dead, the Giulietta's 0 to 100 km/h sprint time is half a second quicker than its most obvious rival, the Golf GTI DSG, while both cars boast an identical 244 km/h top speed. But the Golf is the more frugal fuel sipper, beating the Alfa's combined cycle figure of 7 litres per 100 km by 0.6 litres. The Alfa Romeo Giulietta remains one of the most striking options in a segment filled with safe and conservative models. It doesn't quite have the engagement or the polish of the Volkswagen Golf GTI, but it does counter with attractive styling, a lot of punch, and a welcome slice of individuality. A gutsy 1750cc turbo engine delivers ample power and torque, while the TCT dual-clutch gearbox operates well here, especially in dynamic mode. The result is a car with ample punch, ably applied by a well-sorted, confident chassis. Add the emotive styling and a smart interior, and Alfa's take on hot hatch motoring offers an appealing alternative, but it lacks refinement and the steering could be crisper.